I got music in my headphones and I'm listening to EDM. That whole transition to this starting, if you could have heard the music as that transition happened, that was just fire. Experience just high. Just me. Just I just experienced and that shit was fire. I've been listening to a lot of EDM lately. What is it? Seven Nation Army. Everybody knows that jam. EDM version. It was like the beat was dropping as soon as we transitioned into the screen coming up. It's fire. I actually don't know if I could listen to EDM while I'm reading this stuff. I really dig lo-fi. I'm gonna do lo-fi covers. Alright, there we go. That's more the vibe. If anyone has any throwaway beats, any lo-fi groovy beats that they don't want or not gonna use and they want to share, holla at your boy. Today I was listening to some some YouTube videos, surfing YouTube, where like the Quakers have entered into the story, and really, if we want to know who John Fenwick is, and William Penn, and Edward Byllynge, all these characters that we're about to start getting into, if we really want to know like who they are and what they believed and why they made the decisions that they made, we gotta try to understand what the Quaker religion is all about. And in order to learn that, we have to start with George Fox, because George Fox is the father of the Quaker movement. So I was doing a little bit of YouTube surfing. I didn't really retain much. Let me think. What did I retain? I believe he was born. We're gonna look all this up anyway. This is me testing myself a little bit. Uh, I think he was born somewhere in the 1620s, Lancashire, somewhere in the Lancashire area, if I'm saying that right, and I'm probably not. Um, and I guess at some point he felt like he had revelations, like a spiritual revelation, where God was talking to him personally. And that's when he started going around, I guess, being an evangelist. I'm not sure if that's the term that they use for him, but that's pretty much the idea. I think he went to South England and then ended up going back up to North England somewhere in the 1670s. And I think that's where really his movement kind of like gained a lot of traction, is when he went back north. Um, what else did I retain? What I did learn about the Quakers today, um, they they believed in Christianity, and they believed like in the spiritual aspects of it, but they didn't feel like anyone but God really could be like a ruler over your life. No pope, no pastor, nobody like um please nobody hold me to anything that I'm saying, cuz I'm just spitballing here really, and I do like spew off a lot of misinformation sometimes, but just remember one thing. I'm not in this position to be a teacher, and I'm not here to teach anyone anything. I'm researching and I'm learning. So you're just along for the ride if you enjoy this nonsense as entertainment. Anywho, uh they had all the spiritual aspects of like Christianity, but I think that they had a problem with certain authorities. Um, they were very modest, so they weren't really into like material things, and they dressed accordingly to, I guess, those ideas. There was no pastor or like leader of their church, and later on the meeting houses were set up a certain way. We talked about this before, where like the doors, one was for the men, one was for the women, and that was to show like that there was equality between the men and women, like they shared a equal contribution to this thing. But it was set up in a way to where like they believed if God wanted to inspire any of them or give a message to anyone, then God would pick one of them to inspire, and that person would give the message. Um, the more we dig into it, it really like they're probably one of the more mild Puritans. Uh, they didn't believe in slavery. They didn't believe like they just didn't believe like anyone had, no man had an authority over another man's life. Like God was just the one and only authority, and you could go directly to him yourself. Or at least that's what I take from it. They didn't believe in rituals. They didn't believe in traditional practices, like the Catholic Church or like the Church of England. Um, Presbyterians, which was on the scene at the time and experiencing the same persecution, probably, um, maybe to a lesser degree at different points, but they're they're reformed. They have a different way of thinking. Like they don't believe in free will. Everything's predetermined. Um, but they still kind of dig their rituals a little bit. Um, a lot of the founding fathers were Presbyterian. But anywho, that's a whole tangent. Back to the Quakers. They didn't like rituals. They didn't like pastors or authority. So that's what I retained. Um, I'm just gonna write. We're gonna do page 17 today. We've read this first paragraph a couple times over the last few streams. I guess Joseph Smith of London, this fellow, had collected a lot of the early writings that Quakers had wrote and compiled them. That's what I take from it, at least. And I'm going to write that down as a note for later. So this here is an excerpt. We've referred to the last stream about all that. And then this guy, I guess John Fenwick had wrote a lot of things. None of it survived. This guy, Joseph Smith of London, not the Joseph Smith of Mormons, has after many years of labor collected, arranged, and published a large majority of the titles to these, and as far as possible discovered and given the authors' names. Let's just see if we can find that book real quick. Alright, let's see if it's this guy. Works. I don't know if that's him. Quaker writings. Alright, so this must be the book here. Oh shit, can we read it? Oh shit, we can. Oh. Damn. We're definitely adding this to the file. We're gonna probably come across this a bunch. Let me think of some names. Let's go down a couple pages. Let's go here. Oh, he's a H. One trumpet more sounded out of Zion. That's talking about Egypt, Jerusalem coming out of Egypt. Oh, he goes up to H. Volume 1. So that's the book there. I'm gonna go back to it, and we're going to put it in our file. Yep. Okay. Let's move on. March 18th, 1673, John Lord Berkeley conveyed to John Fenwick his undivided moiety. What's this? I don't know what this word is. Okay, a part or a portion. Hold on. I want you guys to hear it too. Nope.
Moiety.
There we go. Moiety.
Moiety.
Moiety. Moiety. A part or portion, especially a lesser share. Moiety. 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 John Lord Berkeley conveyed to John Fenwick his undivided moiety of New Caesarea, or New Jersey, for the sum of £1,000 sterling and a royalty of 40 beaver skins annually. a sum of 1,000 pounds sterling. And a royalty of 40 beaver skins annually. This grant had upon its surface the appearance of good faith and that of a bona fide. I wonder how you say that. Menopause treatment. Bona fide. I want to know how to pronounce it. Let's type in how to grow.
Bona fide.
Duh.
Bona fide.
Bona fide means in good faith in Latin. Okay. I feel kind of silly about that one, actually. This grant had upon its surface the appearance of good faith and that of a bona fide transaction, yet it was scarcely executed before its intention was suspected and its validity endangered. Edward Byllynge, a friend and associate of the grantee, at once became an important and conspicuous personage in these transactions to the exposure and defeat of plans well matured, and doubtless to his chagrin and discomfiture. What is this word? Chagrin, distress or embarrassment of having failed or been humiliated. Feel distressed or humiliated. Chagrin. This is kind of a mouthful here. At once became an important and conspicuous personage in these transactions to the exposure and defeat of plans well matured, and doubtless to his chagrin and discomfiture. We learning words today, dog. Discomfiture. A feeling of unease or embarrassment, awkwardness. He was born in 1628, a resident of Westminster, London, where he carried on the business of brewer. Now, the way his name is spelled here is probably not right. And as we go through all our research, throughout all the books and all the articles and all the websites we'll read, this guy has 20 different ways that people spell his name. And they all seem to be pronounced Billings. He was born in 1628. He was 10 years younger than Fenwick. Westminster, London. He was a brewer by trade. In the latter years of his life, he lived in the parish of St. Botolph, Aldgate, part of the same city, and died the 16th of the 11th month, 1686. So November. That gets tricky if they're going by the Quaker calendar. Let's look that up real quick. I am going to write down later in life. I don't think he ever went to New Jersey too, by the way. Parish of Saint. Died the 16th of the 11th month. 16. Ooh. 86. Yeah, see, he was a Quaker. So, all right, let's look into this Quaker thing real quick before we move on with this. Where are we at with time? What up, dog? Yeah, let's look up the Quaker calendar. First time chatter. Usually people don't chat in here, they just kind of listen. But it's cool. I accept chatters. I like chatting. Calendar. There we go. The Quakers' calendar uses numbers instead of names for the days and months to avoid using names that come from pagan gods. For example, Sunday is the first day and January is the first month. But that's not. See right here. Before 1752, Quakers used the Julian calendar, which began the year on March 25th. They used Roman numerals or Arabic numerals for the months September to December. Oh, so just from September to December, they use either Roman numerals or Arabic numerals. FYI, Arabic numerals are just the numbers we use as Americans. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. A lot of what's the word? Western civilization comes from Arabic culture. So before 1752, March was the first month of the year. Well, the new year began on March 25th. After 1752, Quakers used the Gregorian calendar, which referred to all months by numbers. For example, September became the 9th month. Okay, I've seen it this way. Here we go. I might save this actually. BRB. Okie doke. We'll be here. Pursuant to the directions of Lathe yearly meeting and the report of a committee appointed by the said meeting to consider what information or advice might be necessary to be given in friends in relation to an act made the said something of Parliament for regulating the commencement of the tear and correcting the calendar now in something use. This meeting hath thought convenient to communicate unto you the following advice. By the said act it is ordered and enacted that supplication according to which the year of our Lord beginneth on the 25th day of March shall not be made use of from and after the last day of December 1751, and that the first day of January next following the said last day of December shall be reckoned, taken, deemed, and accounted to be the first day of the year of our Lord 1752, and so on from time to time, the first day of January in every year which shall happen in time to come shall be reckoned, taken, deemed, and accounted to be the first day of the year, and that each new year shall accordingly commence and begin to be reckoned from the first day of every such month of January. The opinion of the said committee agreed to by the yearly meeting was that in all the records and writings of friends from and after the last day of the 10th month called December, next the computation of time established by the said act should be observed, and accordingly the first day of the 11th month, commonly called January, next shall be reckoned and deemed by friends the first day of the first month of the year 1752. See, okay. The first month was March. So they started in March. Yep, first month is March. Then April, May, June, July. I guess I should use the pointer. Oh, you can't even see because my face is in the way. Right here. The 11th month was January. 12th, February. 1st was March. 2nd April, 3rd May, 4th June, 5th July, 6th August, 7th September, 8th October, 9th November, and the 10th month was December. I am going to save this. Quaker. Cool. Well, now that we got that solved, I'm actually going to write that down. I'm going to write them notes down. He served as an officer, Edward Byllynge. He served as an officer in the Army of the Commonwealth, and while at Leith in Scotland was convinced of the correctness of the doctrines of George Fox by his preaching. He had been living apart from his wife, but was induced to receive her again, and they afterwards lived happily ever after. He published several pamphlets in behalf of friends between 1659 and 1665, all of which were printed in London. In 1684, with others, he was tried at Guildhall, London, for attending a meeting at White Hart Court and creating a riot. He was found guilty and fined 4 nobles, which he refused to pay, and in that default was sent to Newgate prison for 3 weeks. He became involved in his financial affairs, and to avoid the payment of his debts, procured the above-named conveyance to be made to John Fenwick, the purchase being with funds furnished by himself. We're getting too far. I don't want to get into all that yet. But what we just read there, he ends up in prison due to the Quaker stuff. And this is where John Fenwick ran into a lot of problems. Okay, back up here. He served as an officer in the Army of the Commonwealth, and while at Leith in Scotland was convinced of the correctness of the doctrines of George Fox. So he met George Fox in Scotland. Now, this part here, he had been living apart from his wife, but was induced to receive her again, and they afterwards lived happily ever after. They were going to divorce, and George Fox counseled them. I can't remember right now, but we came across that in one of the early episodes of the stream. I'm pretty sure George Fox counseled them. I have a feeling that this is the time frame where, like, everyone, all the main characters are starting to come together. William Penn, George Fox, Edward Byllynge, John Fenwick. There's like 3 other cats we haven't come across yet. He published several. Pamphlets between We'll see if we can find any of those. (1684) tried at Guildhall, London, for attending what was he fined? He created a riot. What the fuck? Okay, let's see if we can find these two places real quick. I like looking at the old houses. Let's see. Guildhall, London. Guildhall is a municipal building in the Moorgate area of the city of London, England. It is off Grimsham and Basinghall Streets. Built in 1440. Nice. (1863) gathering. Queen Victoria. What was that? What is that? Two giants, Gog and Magog. Gog, Magog. Are associated with Guide Hall. Legend has it that the two giants were defeated by Brutus and chained to the gates of his palace on the side of Guildhall. Early carvings of Gog and Magog were destroyed in Guildhall during the Great Fire of London. I keep wanting to call this Guildhall. They were replaced in 1708 by a large pair of wooden statues carved by Captain Richard Saunders. These giants, on whom the current versions are based, lasted for more than 200 years before they were destroyed in the Blitz. Oh, the German bombing. They, in turn, were replaced by a new pair carved by David Evans in 1953 and given to the City of London by Alderman Sir George Wilkinson, who had been Lord Mayor in 1940 at the time of the destruction of the previous versions. That's pretty cool. What's the other place? White Hart Court. So that place we just looked at was where in 1684 Edward Byllynge was on trial. White Hart Court, London. Oh shit. They knocked it down. It was built in 1246. That looks modern as fuck. Originating as early as 1246, its history as an inn can be of little less antiquity. I have such a hard time with that word. Than that of the Tabard, the lodging house of the feast-loving Chaucer and the Canterbury Pilgrims. Anyway. Is that really it? Well, that's what it looked like in 1800. That's odd. And that's 1810. $1787, that's what it looked like. 1829, that's what it looked like. You see here, there's a building there. Now there's a road by 50 years later. So there's it right there in 2015. That's crazy that building, they've fucking ruined the whole facade of it. There it is over there. Oh, it's still there. See, in that book, he spelled that. That's the parish that Edward Byllynge stayed at later in his life. But tough. But they spelled it, John Clement spelled it Buttolph. It's Botolph. Well, I must say, they really ruined that building, honestly. It says in 2011, permission was granted by the City of London to demolish all but the facade of the White Hart, and in 2015, the pub shut for the last, whatever. All right. Let's look up Edward Byllynge. Ooh. Let's try it quicker. Yep, there he is. Edward Byllynge. See, he spelled Billing here. This guy here, I can't remember what episode it was. We talked about him because he followed after, he didn't follow after him. He was friends with, admired. Maybe you could call Lord Berkeley a mentor of his, but he kept a 10-year intensive diary, everyday diary about all those cats that had a lot to do with New Jersey, all the cats that were in Parliament. He was in Parliament. He also was involved with the company with Sir George Carteret that holds the records for the most evils with the slave trade industry. Transatlantic slave trade industry, to be specific. Let's see. Prominent Quaker, once a cornet in Cromwell's Scottish army, a brewer living on a mill bank, Westminster later, 1674, a proprietor of New Jersey, a government agent wrote of Edward Byllynge in 1662. No man more boozy, stirring up and down, inquiring after news than he. Huh. See here the different spellings of his name. It's Edward Byllynge. 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 He was a cavalry officer and leveler. He and his wife became Quakers while he was posted in Scotland. Fox's Journal, page 11. With help from John Fenwick, a fellow leveler officer and Quaker, and William Penn, he acquired a proprietary claim in West New Jersey, and in 1776 he wrote with Penn the concessions and agreements based on leveler principles, which was signed by the original West Jersey settlers as a constitution. Parts of this were incorporated by William Penn into the frame of government for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. It's interesting because Fenwick was already in Salem by that point, 1675. We're getting into like the troubles that he had, really. He was a Quaker. He was friends with Edward Byllynge. He knew William Penn. He met George Fox. He was down with the movement. He was dealing with persecution of his own. And he wanted everything he tried to do was what he wanted to do genuinely for himself anyway. Edward Byllynge was going to get West New Jersey, and he couldn't because of his debt and his legal issues. So he gets John Fenwick to do it for him. Which just ended up being trouble for him later because the creditors found out and ended up coming. Then it had to be settled with Edward Byllynge's creditors, which William Penn ended up with a lot of that, which left John Fenwick with a lot less than he would have had. And then he felt like he always had the right to be a proprietor in Salem, New Jersey, the Salem 10th, the Fenwick colony. Everyone around him and everyone in government was telling him that he wasn't. And he did have paperwork to prove that he was, but everyone else also had paperwork that proved that he wasn't. It was a lot of mess, just in a lot of different areas. And the way that like the Duke handled things and the King handled things and the governors handled things, a lot of corruption, a lot of just being unorganized just caused more problems. I don't know what I'm reading here. I don't know what this is all talking about. Oh, that's Edward Byllynge. We're not going to find anything on Edward Byllynge. The Quaker Invasion. What is this, a book? Yep, written 17 December 2020. Founded in the late 1640s, Quakerism reached America in the 1650s and quickly took root due to the determined work of itinerant missionaries over the next several decades. Quakers, or members of the Society of Friends, faced different legal and social challenges in each colony. Many English men and women viewed Friends with hostility because they refused to bear arms in the colony's defense or take loyalty oaths. Others were drawn to Quakers' egalitarian message of universal access to the light of Christ in each human being. After George Fox's visit to the West Indies and the mainland colonies in 1671, in 1672, Quaker missionaries followed his lead in trying to include enslaved Africans and Native Americans in their meetings. Itinerant Friends were drawn to colonies with the most severe laws, seeking a public platform from which to display, through suffering, a joyful witness to the truth of the Quaker message. English Quakers then quickly ushered accounts of their sufferings into print, organized and supported by English Quakers such as Margaret Fell. Oh, that was a big one. She ended up marrying George Fox after her husband died. The Quaker invasion of itinerant missionaries put pressure on colonial judicial systems to define the acceptable boundaries for dissent. Nascent communities of Friends from Barbados to New England struggled with the tension between Quaker ideals and the economic and social hierarchies of colonial societies. Oh, I'm gonna have to read this. Okay, I'm gonna have to actually come back to this. What if we put West Jersey? There we go. I thought it was crazy that there wasn't a Wikipedia on them. Of course, it ain't a big one. Let's see. First governor of West New Jersey. Interesting. First governor of West New Jersey. Deputy Samuel Jennings. There ended up being disputes with him, which we were just reading about a little bit, honestly. He's succeeded by Daniel Cox. Nationality, Cornish. Brewer. Look, his signature, though, if you go by that, was that Byllynge? Edward Byllynge was a British colonial administrator and governor of West New Jersey from 1680 to 1687. Until his death in England, Byllynge owned a large section of land in New Jersey with the Quakers. Byllynge was a London brewer. He purchased land in New Jersey in 1674 from Sir George Berkeley in a deal also involving John Fenwick. Byllynge's financial position was complicated by bankruptcy, and after negotiations involving William Penn, the purchase in 1675 was reassigned to a trust involving Fenwick, Penn, and others with Byllynge, his creditors, debtors. The planting of Quaker colonies then proceeded, which was all probably just a... William Penn, you will see, although he seemed like a pretty decent guy mostly, he just had his finger... He was smart. He was very, very smart. A couple episodes ago, we talked about a court case that he had in front of Parliament when he was caught doing Quaker meetings. And then he was preaching out in the street when they locked up the meeting house and wouldn't let him in. And he totally just like did this word wizardry and like just made the whole court case confusing and like acted like he knew nothing about like the legal system and the legal procedures, when really he was talking and making decisions like a lawyer. And he was really... It was crazy. He's a very smart person. And I would even bet that he was a narcissist in the clinical definition. Very charming. And a lot of things that he did, like he was he ended up being the one that was like when Fenwick had all these like problems, financial issues or disputes and like ownership disputes. It was like Penn was the one who was tasked with solving everything, resolving everything, and making sure that everything was done fairly, which just ended up resulting in him owning a lot of what was Fenwick's. Over the life of Fenwick, you'll see that their relationship went up and down a lot. There was times where Fenwick was accusing him of just being a snake and stealing like his shit from him. But then there was times where he was calling him a friend. Ultimately, when he passed away, he left the guardianship of his grandsons in William Penn's care. Byllynge was an unpopular governor with the settlers of New Jersey. He never even set foot on the tract of land he owned. In 1682, Byllynge was one of the 24 proprietaries who owned a piece of West New Jersey. Okay. And was it in 1682 he was one of 24. I forget what year Fenwick passed. I think he passed in, it was 80 something. Let's see. 83. this? Huh. No Fenwick. Nope. Was it 1682? He would have been. He should have been. Lord Berkeley, in the year 1675, for the sum of £1,000, sold his half of the province of New Jersey to John Fenwick in trust for Edward Byllynge and his assigns. Fenwick and Byllynge, both members of the Society of Friends, became involved in a dispute about the property, and having confidence in the judgment of Penn, they agreed to refer the matter to him arbitration. After carefully examining the case, he gave his award, which, not being satisfactory to Fenwick, he refused to comply with. The arbitrator was deeply grieved at his obscenity, and much concerned lest the dispute should give rise to a lawsuit between the parties, and thus bring discredit upon the society, which prohibits litigation between its members. In order to induce Fenwick to come forward and settle the differences, the following letter was written. John Fenwick, the present difference between thee and Edward Byllynge fills the hearts of friends with grief, and with a resolution to take it in 2 days into their consideration to make a public denial of the person that offers violence to the award made, or that will not end it without bringing it upon the public stage. God, the righteous judge, will visit him that stands off. Edward Byllynge will refer the matter to me again, if thou wilt do the like. Send me word, and as oppressed as I am with business, I will find the afternoon tomorrow or next day to determine and so prevent the mischief that will certainly follow divulging it in Westminster Hall. Let me know by the bearer thy mind, O John. Let truth and the honor of it in this day prevail. Woe to him that causeth offenses. I am an impartial man. William Penn. This letter not having the desired effect, Penn wrote him two others, the last of which is subjoined on the account of the good feeling and true wisdom it exhibits. John Fenwick, I have, upon serious consideration of the present difference, to end it would benefit to you both, and as much quiet as may be. Thought my counsel's opinion very reasonable. Indeed, thy own desire to have the 8 parts added was not so pleasant to the other party, that it should now be shrunk from by thee as injurious. And when thou hast once thought a proposal reasonable, and given power to another to fix it, 'tis not in thy power, nor indeed a discreet or civil thing, to alter or warp from it, and call it a being forced. Yeah, John Fenwick knew he was getting fucked, and he was telling him, I ain't cool with this shit. Oh, John, I am sorry that a trifle, should thus rob men of their time, quiet, and a more profitable employ. I have had a good conscience in what I have done in this affair, and if thou repostest confidence in me, and believest me to be a good and just man, as thou hast said, thou shouldest not be upon such nicety and uncertainty, away with vain fantasies, I beseech thee, and fall closely to thy business. Thy days spend on, and make the best of what thou hast. Thy grandchildren may be in the other world before the land thou hast allotted will be employed. My counsel, I will answer for it, shall do thee all right and service in the affair that becomes him, who, I told thee at first, should draw it up. As for myself, if this cannot scatter thy fears, thou art unhappy, and I am sorry. Thy friend, William Penn. This dispute being at length adjusted by the kind offices of Penn, Fenwick embarked with his family in the ship Griffin, accompanied by several other friends, to take possession of the land assigned him. They landed at a pleasant, rich spot on the river Delaware, where they commenced a settlement to which he gave the name Salem. This was the first English ship that came to the western part of New Jersey, and none followed for nearly 2 years. In the meantime, Edward Byllynge, becoming embarrassed in his circumstances, was desirous to transfer to his creditors his interest in the territory, being the only means he had to satisfy their claims. So Fenwick had already left. At his earliest entreaty, Penn consented to be associated as joint trustee with 2 of the creditors, Gawney Lurie of London and Nicholas Lucas of Hertford, to carry out his intentions and render the property available. Penn thus became one of the chief instruments in the settlement of New Jersey and establishment of colonial government, which prepared him for the still greater work of founding a colony of his own. The territory was to be divided into 100 parts, of which 10 were assigned to Fenwick for his trouble, and money advanced to Lord Berkeley, and the remaining 90 reserved for sale on the account of the creditors of Byllynge. Yeah. Cool. I think that's it for today. Edward Byllynge. That be him. See you guys later.